Hello, Professor. I hope you are doing great. So today I'm going to introduce the coronavirus situation in France. So first, I'm going to deal with the general overview. In France, the first 3 cases were identified on January 24th. From March 5th, the first restrictions on social distancing appeared with a ban on gatherings. March 12th was a key date in France since it was the first time that the president has spoken publicly. He announced the closure of schools and the implementation of social distancing. The president spoke again on March 16th and implemented the lockdown. Now let's take a look to the key coronavirus figures in France. Thanks to the lockdown, we can see that there has been a stabilization of the number of deaths, which is today at 29,285. In addition, thanks to the increase in cured persons to 71,832, the total active cases is now around 91,000 of people, which is very huge compared to South Korea. Let's focus to the number of people tested. The first thing to keep in mind is France has deliberately not chosen to conduct a drastic screening strategy. We can see that the number of tests performed is around 3 times higher in Italy, Germany, and Spain, with about 11 tests for 1,000 inhabitants. Now let's take a look to France map. The most affected regions are in the Paris area and the east of France. The coronavirus was an opportunity to strengthen solidarity between European countries because Germany and Switzerland helped France due to insufficient spaces in hospital in the east of France. Now let's take a look to the different measures that the government implemented to cope with coronavirus. The government had announced an emergency economic support plan of 100 billion euros dedicated to businesses and employees. This plan helps to finance the cash flow of companies in difficulty or partial unemployment. The government promotes assistance from the Solidarity Fund for small business who lost a turnover at least 50%. The amount is 1,500 euro per month. Finally, the government has also implemented grant payment deadline for tax, direct tax, rebate, and so on to avoid cascading bankruptcies. So the government has also introduced preventive measures to limit the spread of the epidemic with the ban of all important events, festivals, cinema, concerts, and the lockdown. During lockdown, it was impossible to leave the house with a valid reason, such as, for example, to go to work. France has also established a quarantine and has done many prevention campaigns for social distancing. Following the implementation of these measures, some problems had emerged because at the start of the epidemic, the population did not respect the establishment of social distancing that the president asked for. And we can see here photos shared on the internet. This is incredible and disrespectful. So following this non-compliance, the government had to take severe action with higher fines. Nowadays, how is the situation in France? France was one of the European countries most affected by coronavirus. Nowadays, France is in phase 2 of the end of lockdown without limitation to move in France. Currently, it is allowed to take the plane or the train in France, but you need to wear a mask. Parks, gardens, beaches, and forests museums are open throughout France. The bar and restaurant are also open, but in Paris, only the terrace of the bar and restaurant are open because this area is very sensitive. The third phase is scheduled for June 22nd with the opening of cinema and gathering of more than 10 people may be authorized, but major events of more than 5,000 people are prohibited until the end of June. France will open its border with the European countries. However, borders with non-European countries will remain closed until further notice. Despite all these measures, I'm convinced that a return to normal life, this is not possible because before a vaccine is found. So thank you very much for your attention, and I also take this opportunity to thank you for your good humor throughout this semester. It was really a pleasure to meet you, even if it was online. So thank you again, and all the best.